Are you blocking Google from seeing anything on your website? Or AI bots like ChatGPT or Claude? Now, there's a few different ways that you can block bots from accessing your website, but one of the most common is the website's robots.txt file. The website's robots.txt file is a plain text file that lives in your website's root directory. So if you go to yoursite.com/robots.txt, then you will see your website's robots.txt file, and you can see what kind of directives you have in place that might be restricting bots from accessing your website. Now, you can have lots of different directives, and there's lots of different bots that you can try to control. As an example of a robots.txt file that's very open, we can take a look at my website's robots.txt file. So in this case, this robots.txt file says user agent star, which means all user agents, all bots accessing this website are disallowed from nothing, right? Disallow is blank. So this is the most open robots.txt file you can have. All bots are able to access everything on the website. In contrast, we have something like CNN's robots.txt file. I'm not affiliated with CNN. I don't know anything about why they've put this together, but it's a good example of a very restrictive robots.txt file. So what they have here is that this long list of bots all the way down. So they're saying all of these bots accessing the website are disallowed from everything. Disallow slash means you're not allowed to access anything at all on this website. And so this is CNN's way of trying to restrict access to all of these bots. None of these bots are able to access anything on the website. There are certain Google bots that are in here. GPT bot from ChatGPT is in here, as are Claude's bots. They are all restricted from accessing anything on this website. The other thing they have here too is a rule for all user agents, so all bots accessing this website, and they have a whole long list of things they're disallowed from those bots. So no bot, regardless of who it is, including Google, are blocked from accessing the ads directory, for example. And so all of these would be disallowed from here. So there's different ways you can write the robots.txt file. Some very restrictive, some not restrictive at all. And obviously you can be large spectrum in between those two extremes, right? You can have partial restrictions on some directories for some bots, for example. What you want to make sure of is that that robots.txt file is correctly written and correctly controlling bots. So one way you can test this out is in Google Search Console's robots.txt testing file and also Bing Webmaster Tools testing. So in Google Search Console, you can go to Settings, and then under Settings on the robots.txt line, click Open Report. They will show you what the robots.txt file is on here, and you can see what kind of restrictions are in place or are not in place, as the case may be. And so in this case, for my website, there are no restrictions at all, and we see everything in here. If I wanted to know if a particular URL was restricted or not from crawling, I can take that URL and I can add it up here, and I can inspect the URL. And then on the inspected URL, I can see if I get green check marks or not. If that is disallowed, you are going to be told that this is disallowed and they cannot crawl this page. Bing also has a way to test your robots.txt file. So if you go to Bing in the sidebar under Tools and Enhancements, click on robots.txt tester, you can see your current website's robots.txt file, but then you can also test a URL. So if I put a URL in here and I click test, then I can see whether or not that's allowed or not. In this case, it's allowed. If it wasn't allowed, I'd be told it isn't. Now, along with using Google's tool or Bing's tool, another option we have is using an external tool to validate our website's robot.txt file. One tool I like is this robots.txt validator and testing tool. So on here, you can state any URL from any website. And so in this case, let's use CNN's as an example. So we can put CNN's homepage in here. We can then select a user agent that we know they're restricting. In this case, let's do GPT bot. And so on here with GPT bot that we know they're restricting, we can use the live robots.txt file, which means this robots.txt file currently on their site, and we can click test. and it will run the test and will tell us whether or not this is disallowed or allowed. Now, if we switch this over and we instead look at a bot that could be allowed with Googlebot, then we can select Googlebot smartphone and click test, and we can see if that is allowed. And in this case, it is allowed on here, which is what we would expect to see for Googlebot smartphone on there. I think it's helpful to be able to test out lots of different pages, lots of different user agents in a tool like this, so that way you can know if your robots.txt file is correctly written or not. If you have questions about your website's robots.txt file, what bots to block or not block, or if you have other questions about technical SEO and AI search, please let me know. You can email me at matthew@elementive.com. If you liked this video, would like to see more like it from Elementive, please subscribe. Thank you for watching.